Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the meeting of the Fall River Historical Commission. We are meeting virtually via Zoom. The meeting is being recorded, which will be posted onto Fall River Government TV as well as the Government TV's YouTube page as well. It is Monday, November 6th, 2023, and it is 6:04 p.m. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I get a roll call. Elizabeth?
Here.
Joyce?
Here.
Rick?
Here via Zoom.
Ashley?
Yeah.
Connie?
Here.
And Jason Bouchard-Naraki present via Zoom. We are missing Jonathan Lima. We have no open seats on the commission. Let's see, the first item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from October 17th, 2023. Elizabeth sent that around earlier today. I did have one correction, Elizabeth, and that is on item number 10 regarding 655 Rock Street. The names are just switched around. The owner of the house is James Fell, and the property manager is James Holland.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll fix that and send it back out.
Everything was good though.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're able to make that, little correction, I don't know if anyone else has any questions on the minutes.
I'll make a motion that with the correction, we accept the minutes of the meeting as written.
I'll second that motion. Connie.
All right, I have a motion by Rick and a second by Connie to approve the minutes with that one correction on item 10. Roll call vote to approve the minutes. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Rick?
Rick, yes.
Thank you. Ashley?
Yes.
Connie?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. All right, thank you. Item number 2, we have a notice of intent to demolish. This is 16, so it's the administration building for the Fall River Waterworks Complex. With the address is 1620 Bedford Street. The structure is listed on the Fall River Register of Significant Structures. It is part of the Waterworks National Register District. However, on the National Register District, it is listed as non-contributing. And that was from the survey that was done in 1981. It's a little dated. So we do have representatives from the Waterworks. They're seeking a waiver of the 6-month demolition delay. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and who you're representing, please.
Hi, how's it going? Commission Paul Ferland. So I'm the Administrator of Community Utilities for the City of Fall River, oversee water and sewer.
Thank you.
My name is David Andrade. I am with Stark Architects. We're the architects of record on the project.
Great. If you wouldn't mind just explaining the proposal, the what's happening and regarding the I know there's a deadline regarding the demo and the turnover of the site and so forth.
So sorry for the confusion with this. The conversations on this project date back to 2019. At such times, we had spoken with the former chair and explained the project, the scope, what everything was going to entail, and how the demolition of the building was going to be required. At the time, there were discussions that a letter was going to be provided, and unbeknownst to myself, those letters, I guess, are only a year old. And though we've subsequently, only good for a year, I should say, and we've subsequently gone back and forth with various conversations with the commission and members over the years. As with most municipal projects, they aren't 1-year endeavors. The design period in this project alone, I think, Paul, if I remember correctly, was roughly 1.5 years. And then we had the pause related to COVID and bidding and everything else. So right now, I don't know if anyone's been by the property lately, but the new building is complete. The personnel drive is partially constructed, and we now need to demolish the building to complete the personnel drive and get that done prior to the end of the paving season, which is the request when it was brought to our attention when the contractor went to go get the demo permit, that the 6-month waiting period was in play. And after some research and speaking with Jason, as well as with is it correct me, Paul, I can't remember the name of the Kerry. Is that accurate?
Kerry.
And speaking
Kerry,
with
yeah.
Kerry is where we went through all of this and came to the conclusion that we needed to schedule a meeting tonight to get this waiver reviewed and hopefully approved.
Thank you. So, and as I had mentioned before, yep. So there was the basically any demo permit that is issued, there's an they do expire after a year. So our letters are they're valid for a year. And within when I was checking with Carrie to see if anything was submitted from the former chair, from my understanding, nothing was submitted back in 2019. But even still, it would have expired at this point. And I know there's a question as to whether or not the property was listed as a district, as a National Register district, and I did confirm on MACRIS. So MACRIS is the database through the state's historical commission, that it does comprise of the 22 acres of land. There are a number of structures that are listed as contributing resources, and then there's others that are listed as non-contributing resources. So this particular structure was listed on the city's registry, which is why we're meeting today, even though it's listed on the National Register as non-contributing, because it's on the city's registry. That kickstarted the 6-month demo delay. And we do review any property, or the 6-month goes on there for any partial demo or full demo of anything that is listed on the city's registry. So just providing that background. And I don't know if I have any other. Is there any questions from anyone on the board regarding the proposal?
I have a question. Who actually has been in charge of this building? Like, why is it so badly neglected? It's been in the city hands, and it was a historical building. And so my question is, like, who was in charge of taking care of this building, and why did it get to the point where now you're asking to actually have it demoed?
So the building. You go ahead.
I was gonna speak a little bit to that, Paul, but if you want to go first, that's fine. I was just going to say that the use of the building actually is where it's no longer feasible for at least why we had the project that we had, is it no longer met the needs of the water department. And there was a lot of things that the building couldn't provide. Now, as far as the actual structure, that I was going to turn over to you, Paul, but I did want to say it's twofold. It's not only the building, but it's also usability for what it needs to be used for.
Yeah, so the building's always been under the care and custody of the water department. The water department has maintained it. It's gone through many upgrades over the years. But again, as David mentioned, when we did an evaluation of our needs for the building, potential reuse of this building, just wasn't able to suit our needs. Times have definitely changed within utility construction from years ago to where we are now, and that's where we opted to construct the new building that's to the north of this building.
I just find it disheartening that this building, I mean, I went by it and it clearly isn't, it's been neglected, and it's been neglected for many years, and it's been neglected by whoever was in charge of taking care of the building. And it's considering the type of building that it is, it's a shame that it wasn't incorporated. I know what you're saying, that it's no longer the usability, but it could have been incorporated into the new building or part of the new building or something along that line. So I do feel disheartened about this whole thing. I do feel like you, as you know, the person from Stark should have, you knew that, or at least you should have known that this was on the registry. And so here we are having a special meeting, and I'm thinking, this should have all been done, like all this homework should have been done. This should come before us before. So
And that, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were
oh
done. I
no,
was
go
gonna say-
ahead. You can
No,
go
I was
ahead.
just saying, and we did have a lot of those conversations, and we explored options to incorporate the building, and then also looking at the availability of funds with the renovation work that would have been needed for the building to bring it up to date and those. It just economically was not feasible for the end needs of the city. As far as bringing it up and speaking with the commission before, there was never a formal presentation made to the commission. But I mean, I have emails going back to 2019, copying the chair of the commission at the time, indicating that that the building was basically okay to demolish and good to go, and we could proceed as planned. So I don't want the commission to think that we were operating in a vacuum, so to speak, and not approaching the commission and having these discussions. We did explore a lot of different ways to initially, in the initial design stages, salvage the building or somehow incorporate the building. It just at the end of the day, with the funds that were available, the amount of site work that was going to be needed for the project, it just didn't pan together.
Yeah, so that site up there is a very difficult site too. That's the top of the Fall River Bath with the ledge that runs underneath the city. So trying to fit what we needed on that site altogether was a difficult process. Just in relation to the whole entire site itself, the other buildings that are on that site that are part of the National Registry, the tower across the street, the 1873 pump station at the bottom of the hill. Years ago, 10, 15 years ago, when I first started with the water department, the building down the bottom of the hill, half the roof was collapsing in. The water department made huge investments into those historically significant structures to stabilize them. That's why we're able to save those buildings at this point. Again, just with the reuse of that existing building, it didn't make sense financially to be able to save that building.
Well, I have a question too. I understand this building is administration. It's an administration building. So all the time that it was declining, where was administration being conducted? And what are you going to do with administration now? Where is that function? And who does that function?
Yeah, so it's the water maintenance division that's housed up that was housed out of that building. So those are the guys that work out in the roadway repairing water mains on water main breaks, water service leaks, asphalt, sidewalks from water affected areas. The building, the guys we were working out of that building right up until July. When we were able to get occupancy on a new building just to the north of this building. So staff was still working out of that building up until that point. And now we're in a new building that's to the north of this existing building. It's a larger building, allows us to be able to store our equipment inside. So the administration portion of that is clerical staff, director, our engineering aides, water service workers. So those are all housed in the front half of our new building. Then we have a new mechanics bay in the new building, as well as some vehicle storage bays and a vehicle wash bay that's required by a federal permit.
Well,
So,
also,
so
Mr.
to put in perspective, the administration portion of the building, the overall building is a little over 26,000 square feet. And the actual administration, the administrative portion of the building is only 5,000 square feet.
Well, also, Mr. Ferlin, I want to applaud the preservation work that the water department has done, is doing, and will continue to do for the rest of the complex. I read it up, I researched it. It's a magnificent effort and a costly effort, and it's being done by the right people. So I salute the water department in that effort. The value that you place on the waterworks is good for generations. So I appreciate the effort that the water department is doing, and also the city of Fall River, to maintain the entire complex.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And it's us that's leading it because we own and maintain the buildings, but we get help from CPC. We've gotten mass historical grants in the past and stuff too. But a lot of the burden does come from our rates as well.
Well, I took the tour that Representative Fiola arranged.
Yes.
I guess that was before the pandemic. Time has really flown by. But it's just amazing. It's amazing to realize what kind of engineering feat it was in the 1850s to bring safe, clean water to the city of Fall River. And the kind of equipment that I saw there, it's just, you need more tours. You need more tours. You need the students to get up there and see just what they're doing, because it's a phenomenal lesson in engineering and in preservation.
Yeah, thank you. And again, we always like to open our facilities to guided tours. If anybody ever wants a tour of any of our facilities, the 1875 tower, the 1873 pump station, Interlagen, which is where Mr. Borden, the foundation for Mr. Borden's old house is. If anybody ever wants tours of those facilities, they can contact the water department, and we'll set up a guided tour with one of our staff.
That's great. Thank you.
I have another question. So is it possible for us to get a listing of all the buildings that you're responsible for, so that because I know there was some confusion about whether a building was historical or not, so that we can have that communication with you, so that we can be proactive in protecting these buildings or apply for CPC funds or whatever the case may be, but to actually have a listing so there's no miscommunication going forward.
I think that's right.
Yeah, we can put together a list of the buildings. So I do both water and sewer. I don't know whether we have any real historic buildings on the sewer end of things. Most of our stuff is underground, but with the water department, definitely more than happy to put together a comprehensive list of all the properties that we have. Some of them are on city side, but we have other ones that are in the reservation as well. 2929 Blossom Road, which is our reservation headquarters, which was Eponymous Blossom Workshop out there. And then we just acquired the old Adirondack Farm over on Blossom Road as well, which we plan to turn into a discovery center for the bioreserve.
So at our last meeting, which was oh goodness, I think mid-October, the 17th, I think. So we're in the very early stages of applying for certified local government, which is a program through the Massachusetts Historical Commission and the National Park Service, and that if approved, that will allow the city access to additional grant funds provided from the Mass Historical Commission. These are more competitive based that not every community has access to, but that allows for survey work, for example. this property was surveyed in the 80s, and my suspicion why the admin building was not listed as contributing may have been maybe part of its age. It was built in 1922. The survey was done in 81. It was just over 50 years old. So there's a possibility that it may not have been significant enough comparative to the other structures on the property. But an additional survey to update, the inventory of the property, if there's anything that's not listed as contributing, it will at least enable those properties to have use of CPC funds, for example, for any for preservation work. And then anything else that the water board might have, historically that is not listed on the register. So we're in the process of that, and hopefully that's something that will get the ball rolling on getting other districts in the city surveyed and inventoried. And it, at the end of the day, it's a very good thing. So just putting that out there. So a list of any structure would be fantastic. So we have an idea as to, if there's any, if there's a building that might be over 50 years old that fits one of the different criteria of making it eligible for, CPC funds or National Register, that sort of a thing, that would be greatly appreciated.
Definitely.
And Paul, if you don't mind, when you do that, you're well aware, I'm sure, you're speaking to Mike on a regular basis about the Form As that we're doing over there in the bioreserve. And there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 100 historic sites out there that have been analyzed and are going to be recorded shortly. We're in the throes of doing that. And Mike's been putting in a yeoman's effort to pull that together, and I appreciate that. But if you could incorporate that in the list that you sent to us, because we're going to have the bioreserve Form As all listed and, certified at the Registry of Deeds eventually. So
All right. Yeah,
that
no,
would assist
definitely.
us. So this way it can become a more cooperative effort. I was part of the original conversation. I know where Connie's coming from with her questions, but it was difficult when that building, this building that you put up in the off Bedford Street was originally put in. The neighborhood was in an uproar. You're well aware of that, and it was real difficult to try and get the water department to sit with us at that time. So let's try and make it a warmer, cozier feeling. Let's
Yes.
push it off in a new direction.
Definitely, without a doubt. Again, I think historic preservation is key to the community, and again, that's why we do put a lot of effort into it. I've had, multiple conversations with Mike about the work that he's doing on gathering all that information out there, and it's one of the things that we like to do to help support it. So,
what is the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just want to point out again the work that you do. I mean, we don't have a situation in Fall River like Flint, Michigan. The work that you do every day is keeping us safe, keeping the water lead free at this point. That's another initiative. That's another project that's ongoing, because I got my letter already, and my appointment is Thursday afternoon.
good.
So yeah. So I mean, I'm well aware that this is a tremendous effort. That I saw Mr. Sullivan when we took the tour. So I know the work that goes on there, and I appreciate the fact that you're keeping us out of harm's way.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the water department, our structures, our buildings is part of it. Our primary, reason that we're here is to provide clean, safe drinking water for the 100,000 plus residents of the city of Fall River and surrounding communities. So yeah, definitely, it's one thing One thing we missed out on recently in 2020, and I was trying to plan to do some events and stuff. The water department turned 150 years old in 2020.
Oh,
COVID kind of put a little kibosh on some of our celebrations that we were planning and things like that. But that was pretty momentous occasion. So we're hoping maybe 2025 to celebrate 155
sure.
years.
Very good.
What is the pending approval of the waiver? What is the turnaround for, like, when do you expect to start work and having the project ideally completed?
Contractor, to my understanding, is ready to knock the building down last week, to stay on schedule and to have paving completed, as I mentioned, by the end of this paving season. So right now, the only items remaining for the completion of the project is the demolition of the structure, backfilling the space, completion of the roadway, and then the final paving around the perimeter, as well as some incidental site work. But that's really, well, unless I miss anything, that's really it that's left.
Yeah, some other minor punch list items that come with a construction like this, are very minor things. But yeah, those are the major things on the site.
Okay.
As I
Okay.
said, this is really disheartening because, as Rick pointed out, I've been on the board since the board got established again. And the water department was invited multiple times to come talk to us. And so I do feel like both the water department and as well as Stark failed to come before us. And that's why I feel disheartened, and this like emergency all of a sudden popped up about hurry up and let's get this building knocked down now. That's where I was coming from. I appreciate the work that you do, Mr. Furland, and like I appreciate having clean water. It's not about that. I not only appreciate that part, but I appreciate the building itself. And even though you feel that the building should come down, I still look at it and I see an incredible, beautiful building that has a lot of historical significance. And it's a shame that it wasn't incorporated some way and saved somehow, just as they pumped right down the road. Like, that's another incredible building. And it's just like little by little, we get rid of these historically significant buildings and we end up with the warehouse that you just built. So it's like, you know, it's just, it drives me nuts because we're in emergency mode now. And now we're pushed up against the wall to make a decision that I don't appreciate making. So that's where I'm coming from. And I feel like, I know you have emails. You were invited to come before the Historical Commission for us to have a conversation years ago when there was a different chair. And so that's what I was there, Rick was there, several of us were. So that's why I'm asking the questions that I am. And that's why it's important for me or for the board to have a list of what you're in charge of so that we can work together to prevent this from happening in the future. That's where I'm coming from.
Yep. And
it's not that I don't appreciate the work that you're doing regarding, the water for the city of Fall River.
To echo what Connie said, in the past, and I wasn't on the historical commission at the time. I was on the historic district commission, which was completely separate. But with the 6-month demolition delay, the board, there was no requirement for developers or property owners or anyone to, once they pulled the permit, notice was filed with the chair, and then you hoped that they would attend a meeting when the item was brought up. And unfortunately, the board was burned by that. With it was specifically the demolition of the Morgan Street School over just off of South Main Street. And the demo delay expired. The property owner never came to any of the meetings despite being invited over and over again. And then it's currently a surface parking lot. And there's opportunities that we that can be created out of meeting with the property owners to discuss alternative uses, to see if, if grant funds were applied for tax credits, if there was a way incorporating the structure. So that's why we are, when we get demo permits or demo requests, if they're on the registry, the property owner or representative, they now have to come before the historical commission so we can vet this out, because as I've explained, we've a lot of times with this, it's just an empty, the 6-month delay expires and then the building's gone, and the historical commission was never given the opportunity to talk it out and figure out what an alternative could be. So, there any other questions or comments from the board regarding this? Okay, so they are seeking a waiver of the 6-month delay. Do I have anyone who wants to make a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve.
Waiver, okay.
I'm reluctantly going to okay that motion and second it, only because of the condition that the building is at this present stage. Windows have been taken down, walls, the structure is getting to be almost a hazard. And putting a 6-month delay on it is not going to suit anyone's needs. So I'm reluctantly, I will second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ashley and a second by Rick to waive the 6-month delay. All right, may I get a roll call vote, please? Elizabeth,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. All right, thank you. I will send that letter. I'll send that out to you ASAP, so you have that, because I know you're up against the deadline. But that will go with the demo permit, the waiver.
All right, board. I just want to say thank you very much. I do apologize for the way that this project has come to fruition, but moving forward, definitely you can have my guarantee that we will be in touch with any of our future projects. So
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you guys. Have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Let's see. We had one other item come up on the agenda, and this is time sensitive as well, because so this is item number 3 on the agenda regarding 101 President Avenue. It's the redevelopment of the shopping center at the bottom of President Ave and Duval Street. So this is being reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals on November 16th. And so the proposal, at least this is from the agenda from the Zoning Board of Appeals, item number 2 under new business. The applicant seeks a variance to demolish the existing structure and rebuild a mixed-use concept consisting of 350 residential apartment units, a parking garage, and retail space in accordance with the submitted plans. And they're asking for a waiving of side yard setback, building height, type of use, and unit count in a BL, which is local business zoning district, and an HD1 housing development overlay district. The applicant also seeks a special permit to reduce parking requirements. So the shopping center, as we know it, is not obviously on the registry, but there's one item one structure, and that is the Almax Diner, which is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's listed as FLR.1973 on the Macris database. So the plan that I received from zoning or from the zoning or planning office, and I did send that around to everyone. It's not a very detailed plan, but it shows the mass of the building, specifically looking at the layout, and I don't believe the diner's not listed anywhere on that plan whatsoever. So we're not reviewing the design of the building. We're not reviewing um, anything pertaining to that. We're solely looking at the diner because it is listed on the National Register. Obviously, it's on the city's registry. And looking at doing a little bit of research on the properties. So the diner structure itself is owned by the owners of the shopping center, and the business that's there has a lease. So that's where that comes in. So my feeling is that we caught this beforehand. I just happened to notice this on Facebook of all things, and so I had asked for the plan, and sure enough, the diner's not listed. So, in order for us to, if we want to have a letter, an opinion submitted to the zoning board, we have to have a board approval on that, which requires us to meet for that. They're meeting next week on the 16th. So I would love, if we would like to get a letter, I would love to get this out and submitted beforehand so we can at least meet their deadline. I don't know. The plan is very, I don't know, there's a lack of information in a way. There's no discussion if the diner is going to be moved. We know that diners are mobile. This diner has moved twice. It originated on South Main Street where I think it's St. Anne's Bank, I think, across from the Olivera Funeral Home. It originated there, then it moved over to, I think, President Ave proper, and then was turned to face Duval Street. I think I might be getting that part.
I think it's been moved 3 times, actually.
3 times.
Correct. Yes.
It's on Wall Street on the water side.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know it was on the water side.
Where the Bicentennial Park is, where the pump station is, it was right there at that pump station.
Okay, so it's been
That in the parking
times.
lot, that's where it was, yeah.
All right,
And
so it's
then when it was on President Avenue, it actually faced President Avenue, and then it turned when the plaza got
Okay.
created.
So, I mean, and that one move in particular from South Main to the north end, I mean, that's significant in of itself. But so in the plans, there's nothing indicating what's happening to that diner. If it's being moved, if it's just simply going to get torn down. And we don't know, it looks like the proposal is coming from a group. It's called 1265 Main Street LLC. And they're based out of, I believe it's Tewksbury. So this looks to be like a speculative venture for them. They're not, I don't think they've actually closed on the property. They're just looking to see if they can receive the variances and the approvals before they go ahead with the development. So are we in the right?
I
Are we in
feel
the right
confident the zoning board denies any kind of waiver because that's the whole idea about the waterfront is not to have the height restriction. I mean, to maintain the height restriction. And so this is again, someone out of town, not someone really vested in the city. They're just vested in their pockets. And I do believe that the diner is a historic, not building, but
Preservationist,
well,
sort.
The diners, that it's
like the Night Owl. I feel like these diners are iconic, historic, iconic, structure, and should be saved. And we have like a waterfront that's going to be a vast waterfront. And what a great place for that diner to actually, be or something along that. I mean, I don't know what the plan should be for it. But I certainly wouldn't want to see it to disappear because it's been around forever, it seems. And so, just like I worry about the Night Owl, like I think that's a real cool diner.
Landmark.
Yeah, there you go.
and they're representative of the roadside Americana. That's just vanishing.
It bothers me that the diner interior has been changed so much. Like the booths were removed because to me, the booth is part of a diner, but that can all be restored. That can all be done down the road. But the shell itself is pretty iconic. The Almac's name on it and stuff. So I would make a motion for the board to send a letter to the zoning board to prevent this from being demolished.
And I would definitely second that motion. That's an important motion to make, I believe.
So just for clarification, while I draft this letter, and then so we are urging the zoning board of appeals to for the preservation of the diner. We're not, are we addressing anything regarding the height of the development? Do we want to look at that or no?
Oh,
Because we have, so
I don't know if it's within our purview.
I don't think it is, because so like when we reviewed the height requirement for that tower that was supposed to go in over on was it Cove Street or Weaver Street, remember?
Yeah, we
Right,
were-
yes.
That's a historic district, I believe, whereas this is not. So I think that was the reasoning why we
I mean, from a historical commission point of view, I think it would be detrimental to the waterfront to do what's been done, to then have something gigantic, overpowering, everything else. The height restrictions were put in for a reason.
Yeah.
A waiver would be because of hardship. I don't
right, and this, so that particular, and from what I just saw too in the Herald News, I think today or yesterday, the redevelopment authority is reviewing, I believe, 3 bids from three firms that are proposing basically creating, I don't know if it's like a master plan or basically just creating a layout for the waterfront district, for the land that's being turned over for from what was the highway. So, and I don't know if that's going to also address this particular lot. Usually they do, as part of any type of a plan like that. So, but it's not in a historic district. But I saw the proposal and I'm just, this is
In the letter, would it be wise to incorporate some comments regarding just that we'd love to see more historic features put into the redevelopment of the waterfront?
so that would be separate. That would be for any, I mean, that could be a letter to the redevelopment authority when they go to review the 3 bids from those firms. We can,
But it could be an adjunct to the letter that you're writing about the Almax Diner? You know, that we'd like to maintain those historic structures within the concept of redevelopment?
if it was in a historic district, I think we would have a better case.
I think we should really just focus on the diner.
The diner.
Regarding that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that from an opinion point of view, that the historic commission, if we decided to vote on it, would be to say that if we all agree that the height restrictions that have been placed on the waterfront should be maintained for this, like I think of Skyline, I think of just the ability for everyone to enjoy the waterfront rather than just, this Tewksbury firm that they're not vested in the city. They're basically doing this because it's going to be financially, the more apartments that are in it, it's going to be financially
Viable.
Beneficial.
yeah, beneficial for them, but not beneficial for the city.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to see a lot of this once they're done with the construction down on 79. I have a strong feeling that that's essentially what's going to happen, is it's just going to be side by each of all high buildings going all downtown, similar to larger cities.
And Providence has, yeah,
right.
that's a big one. And I don't know how that process rolled out with Providence. There was a lot more land, but they have a whole separate commission charged with selling and developing the the interchange with 95 and 195. So their zoning, the zoning for them, it's part of it's a little complex. But yeah, I believe they still abide by the zoning ordinance in Providence, but every city that does projects like this, they're handled a little bit differently. But I would imagine at least, hopefully that there's some, they were the redevelopment authority would like input from other boards from from us, for example.
Right.
Yeah, there's not too many historical resources in that immediate area, at least that have been surveyed. But yeah, as Connie mentioned, the skyline, you have something too tall, you have all those properties up and down President Ave and the Highlands that are going to suddenly, if they approve something this is, I believe it's a 7-story building.
It's
So-
actually with an extremely high first floor level, so it's more like a 7.5 story.
Yeah. So, but I mean, these are things that I'm hoping that maybe we do have some involvement in when it comes to the redevelopment authority, working out those 3 bids. But regarding the diner, I think, we should stick to that and at least urge its preservation. And if it's they want to tear it down, then we urge that it get relocated somewhere else, knowing that it has been moved a few times.
Mhm.
It might involve getting a structural engineer to inspect if it's able to be moved. I would imagine it is, but yeah. So
Well, focusing on the diner, what I read in the Herald News, the owner of the diner who leases it from the property said that if it was going to be moved again, it would probably fall down. It would probably fall apart. But I have not seen that owner
No.
come before us to seek preservation information on the diner. So I don't know if you want to mention that or skirt around it, that if you have something that is that historic, what are you doing to take care of it? I mean, I haven't seen anybody make an effort to look into preservation information, tax information, whatever. And that owner is currently running for the city council, I believe.
so it's just the business that's owned, not the building. So the building is owned by the developer that owns that whole shopping center.
Correct.
Right. So we're just reacting based on the proposal as it is, regarding the plan that does not include the diner as part of its, which is the historic resource that's on the property. So I mean, we could put into the letter that if it ultimately has to come down, or if the proposal is to tear down the diner, that a structural survey, I suppose, is done to assess whether or not, whether the building is structurally able to be relocated, and
Right.
go from there. There are alternatives to this. I don't know if tax credits would be able to be applied in this case, but or I don't know if CPC funds can be even applied in this case. I'm not sure, but there are options to explore. So I guess we could word it that way, that we're urging the preservation of the diner, or potential relocation of the diner, and that all avenues need to be sourced for the structural stability of the diner, for the what financial assistance there is for relocating it or preserving it, that sort of a thing. Am I missing anything? Sure.
Well, should
No,
we include, if we are saying that moving it is a possibility, should we suggest what area it should stay in?
Okay.
I think Connie's idea about the waterfront, if it can be moved, if it can be preserved, it's an ideal addition.
But if the RDA is meeting and you're gonna have a
Yeah.
map, they're the ones that really, I mean, I don't know who's gonna be involved with them, with the RDA. As you were saying, that they're planning to meet and do a master plan. So I don't know what that plan is going to incorporate. I was just throwing it out there that, to me, having that diner moved, like being on the waterfront as a place where people are walking on the waterfront and you could go there and get something to eat or whatever. I mean,
Exactly.
have places to pop into
Mhm.
that are down there enjoying the waterfront to be able to grab a place or whatever it may turn. I mean, it could just be an ice cream place for all you know,
Yeah.
and still be called Almax Diner. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, there should be, I mean, in that case, it would be, you know, there's another reuse for the structure.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
Well, just one other fact, if that's the case, it might be part of a master plan that still has not been developed. And there could be federal monies involved in that. There could be other monies that might impact it. We just don't have the information.
Well, I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that the zoning board denies this. So
well, so this
Wait,
letter
I
would
have
be,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry to interrupt. I have a question. So you mentioned CPC funding. Would that possibly cover the moving of the diner as part of its preservation, or would that be totally separate from like restoring the building itself?
I don't know. That's a good question for Rick.
Well,
Maybe not.
unfortunately or fortunately, it's kind of late right now to apply for CPC money. That has to be applied for in June, and then we review it
Yeah,
in
but I don't
September.
think this is happening anytime soon.
Oh, no.
Right. So there is absolutely no reason why they cannot apply for funding. It's well within the parameters of the CPC.
But would the actual moving of the building qualify as like something they could use the funding towards?
I mean, they could donate that building to the city of Fall River, and then the city of Fall River could apply for funds, because then it wouldn't be a private entity.
Oh,
It's not structurally sound though. Someone's gonna have to fix it in order to move
yeah.
it.
But we don't
And
know.
get it
that, like, we're not
right.
100%
No, we
sure.
don't know that yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But CPC funds can be used for a structural assessment, no?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
see.
but it would be a little. I'm not saying it doesn't have a chance, because it is a privately operated business, but it is a business. So, and it is historic and it's on the register. So yes, it would fall under that category for review. And yes, there could be some funds applied, you know, if the board voted on.
Even for a private owner?
Yes, yes, because it is a historic building, and if it was a private enterprise, it would be something entirely different. But it's a business operating it as a business.
And then there's the ability of having the I mean, there's the easement that goes onto it anyways, the deed restriction, correct?
Yes, there would be.
All right. Which that's
Now there might have been an issue with that because the last go around, Almax, Cliff Ponte and his organization was applying for funding to rehab the sign and some other features attached to the building, which would have then put a preservation restriction on the property. And he withdrew and never did apply. So I'm thinking the owner did not want any preservation restrictions put on his property. And so that had to not come to fruition. And that's an assumption on my part, but there was a reason why that was not, not committed completely.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation because the building is, it can be moved. So, and the restriction gets placed onto the building and the land. And so that, yeah, this is a.
Right. The building belongs to someone else.
Mhm.
They've got no interest in that building except for the property. And yes, they're renting it out and making income.
Yeah.
Why ideally, if they gave the building to the city.
Yeah.
I know the city doesn't want any more buildings and whatnot, but if they gave the building to the city, then it would be the perfect combination to get money from the CPC.
Sure. Okay. And that again, Jason, if we get the CLG approved, there's an open umbrella for that. That's a great opportunity.
Yep. exactly. All right. I might, in the letter, I may list some alternatives that we've discussed, as possible avenues that can be explored. Um, Oftentimes when we see a demo request, you know, they'll say, "Oh yes, we've done our due diligence of seeing if it's eligible for tax credits, if it's eligible for CPC," and I, I don't think they've actually. Sometimes applicants have actually gone that far. So there are alternatives here. So it's good to list that out and indicate that there's additional options, and hopefully that's enough to. Yeah. So we're looking at All right. So we would be approving a letter in support of its preservation, relocation, listing alternatives, and the ability for CPC funds with the particular criteria of the building being either donated or relocated, and the building owner being able to apply for those funds that can help for the structural assessment, that can apply for the relocation of the building, that sort of a thing. And this would be just focus on the diner. So is there anything else I'm missing?
No, that's fine.
All right, and I'll send a letter around as well, just so if there's any edits that have to be made before I submit it. So they're meeting on the 16th. I will try to be. My hope is to be in attendance, but if I submit it, they will have the letter read before the board. So I mean, I will likely attend anyways, just so I can have that presence with for the historical commission.
Jason, to whom is that letter addressed? To the developer, to the redevelopment authority, to the mayor? Where is that mayor going?
The letter will be
Zoning
addressed to the zoning
Yeah.
board of appeals,
Okay,
because they're the ones hosting the meeting.
So we still do need to vote.
Yes. So after all that, so if we can get a motion to approve the
Well,
letter.
you did make a motion, I believe, did you not, Connie? And then I second it.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
So we should be all set there. We were just discussing it.
Yes. Thank you. All right. So I have a motion by Connie, a second by Rick, for the letter for the zoning board of appeals. Roll call votes. Elizabeth,
Yes.
Joyce,
yes,
Rick Mancini, yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. All right. Thank you. I will draft that up and send it around for any edits, and then I will have that submitted. I would like to get this in well before the end of the week so I can meet their deadline. I believe they need it in. They're meeting on Tuesday. Wait a minute. I'm not sure. Might be a Thursday. The 16th is a
Thursday.
Thursday. So they will need it in by, I believe, that Tuesday the 14th. So I'll have that submitted before then. Great. Thank you very much. Is there anything else regarding open discussion or anything of that nature?
yes, yes. I have something else. I've been 2 weeks ago to the day. We were not able to have a meeting and get a position in place to the city council on the Bank Street Armory. So my question is, where does that stand right now? And where do we stand in terms of making our opinion clear to the council as to what we would like to see happen with the Bank Street Armory?
So I reached out to the clerk for the city council. I believe her name is Lauren, because they're meeting on a Tuesday. The deadline is so they're meeting tomorrow. So the deadline is the Friday before. We weren't able to meet last week, so we've already passed the deadline of submitting an opinion on the Bank Street Armory, unfortunately. So we can appear before city council tomorrow. I believe their meeting that is being brought up around, I think at 6, or at the meeting that begins at 6. We can go to city council and as private citizens. But aside from that, because we're past the deadline, we can't submit a formal opinion. It will be, if they extend it another 2 weeks, then we can, or if they delay the vote once again, we will, we have the opportunity of meeting again to figure out if we can get an opinion out there. But I think that's where that stands, unfortunately.
Connie, what is the Preservation Society doing on that? Were they able to get an opinion listed and sent to the council?
Yes. Actually, there's been several meetings with several different counselors.
Yeah, we can't bring that up. We can't take a vote or anything of that nature. Well, yeah, because we're past the deadline, and
It's not on our agenda.
now it's not on the agenda. But if they delay the vote, then we can, by all means, we can get a formal opinion brought up, voted, and submitted, hopefully before deadline. I didn't realize that they had even delayed the vote until I think it was a few days after the city council meeting when I noticed that they had delayed the vote.
There is a state restriction deed on that building,
Mhm.
and you should look at it and you should read it because it's very interesting.
It's very interesting, and it's not old. It was only put up within the last 10 years. So
Are you able to share that?
I'll try to download a copy. Oh, unless Connie, if you have a copy of it.
Oh, you're on mute, Connie.
Yeah, well, Connie, tell us how interesting it is. We don't know what it.
I don't actually think we can have a discussion about all this.
No.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what happens tomorrow, and then if it gets delayed, then we will vote again. Then we will meet regarding that to see if get a formal opinion out from the
to share that with you guys, but I mean,
yeah, we can't discuss.
Do it, and if you want to go as a private citizen, I say go for it. Like, I think it's important. If you feel passionate about it, you can go before them.
Okay. All right, so we are scheduled to meet on Tuesday, November 21st.
I have an old business or a new business or discussion, open discussion.
Sure.
Just for general information, as you're aware, we're working on the Form Bs for the Steep Brook, which we've been discussing. And I just got an invite for the 6th. In fact, the Professor Stiles just wrote to me today on the 16th, that's a week from Thursday, building number 3 at 2 p.m. The students are going to be presenting the work that they've done to date.
Okay.
So I'm going to meet, probably be there about 1 o'clock, or I'm sorry, about 1:30, and Professor Stiles will pick me up, find me in the parking lot and take me over to the correct classroom for 2 o'clock.
What's the date on that again?
It's on Thursday, the 16th, and I don't have the classroom number, but it will be at 2 p.m. in building number 3.
Is that in the Roger Williams campus?
Roger Williams campus. I guess when you go into the guard shack, the first small parking lot is parking lot number 1. And if you just make if you're in the parking lot, I guess it would be on the southwest direction. Is that large building?
Oh, that's the School of Architecture.
Okay, it's the larger building.
Yep.
And it's I don't know what classroom it's in at this time.
Excellent. Yeah. So Roger Williams University, their preservation studies program has been working on the Form Bs. So this is excellent. So Rick, can you send an email to us with the specifics if anyone can attend? So we cannot have a quorum, so that is 4 or more. But that is wonderful to see that they've gotten this far with the project. So that's great. Excellent. If there's a way of also getting a digital copy of that, that would be wonderful. For those of us that can't attend, and I can share it with the board. We can review it at the next meeting.
Okay, I'll try and see what I can do with that. Maybe a video or something.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
That's great.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. So we are scheduled to meet next on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. It is 7:08. May I get a motion to adjourn?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, motion by Rick, second by Elizabeth to adjourn. It is 7:08 p.m. Roll call. Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
Yes,
Oh, sorry. Joyce?
Yes.
Rick?
yes.
Rick Mancini, yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Connie? Thank you. And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Thank you so much for meeting tonight on short notice. So
Okay.
thank you very much. You have a good night.
Good night,
you.
everyone.